Hello. So this is what the bottom of my room looks like. A stuffed bird's eye view, so to speak. So it's just after 6 a.m. I intentionally set an alarm, decided to wake up early, and normally when I make these videos I like to zhuzh myself up a little bit and even like make an outline and have at least 3 or 4 different main points that I want to hit when I talk about stuff. And I've actually been wanting to make this video all week and could not for the life of me force myself to wake up. That's not to say this is the hardest video I've ever had to make. I think there are at least three that come to mind that were significantly harder, that tugged on a lot more strings and opened the door to a lot more insecurities. I think this one's just hard because I don't want it to be necessary. I don't want it to be true. I don't want any of these last few weeks to be more true than it already is. 3 weeks ago, when things were starting to shut down because of COVID-19, I took it upon myself to join with society. And I distinctly remember the first day of all this, having the opportunity to go work at a coffee shop, which is 5 days out of 7 my office place, hopping around coffee shops around town to go work on blogging and podcasting and emails and comments and even video editing. And I took it upon myself that day to say, no, you know what, I'm gonna join society, I'm gonna do my part, I'm gonna stay home, I'm not gonna go to this coffee shop that's still open. And I'm gonna work from home today, and maybe tomorrow too, and who knows, maybe even the next day. With no concept, absolutely no concept whatsoever, that I would not get another chance to work at a coffee shop for untold days and weeks to come. And when things first started, I made some videos on my Instagram with my stuffed animals here, joking that these were my only friends now because I couldn't have face-to-face contact with small groups or large groups anymore. But at least I have my friends here where I live. At least I'm not alone. And I reached a point where the stupid, silly videos weren't made anymore because this whole thing wasn't stupid and silly anymore. It was very real and globally very painful, and personally very disruptive. I've often wrestled with whether my needs matter or not. I've learned over the years that I tend to be very inward focused, and it's not lost on me that the pandemic that we're all facing has affected people way more than it has me. Affected people to the point of actually losing loved ones or facing the prospect of not being able to visit an affected loved one in a hospital, or losing a career and needing to support a family. The way this pandemic has affected me is undoubtedly light years away from how it's affected others in other parts of the country and certainly other parts of the world. But then does that make my needs invalid or irrelevant? Do I just need to get over it already? And I'll be honest, there have been some days in the last 3 weeks that have been truly beautiful days. I take these neighborhood walks that I never used to take before, and I'm noticing beauty on so many city streets, on neighborhood yards, in blooming trees, and in eclectic mailboxes, and I've experienced a general and vital gratefulness just to be alive. And then there have been other days that have really gnawed at me, that have literally kept me up at night. As a person, as a creature of habit, as a person of to-do lists and routines, I think it's safe to say that anyone else who is as well, this whole pandemic has disrupted whatever flow you used to have. And again, for those first few days, it was almost like a fun, novel new challenge to adapt to a new situation and brew my own coffee instead of going out. And it was all well and good for 72 hours. And since those first 72 hours, there's just been a seesaw of days that are good, that are beautiful, that are slower and restful, and then others that are lonely, unmotivating, uninspiring. Sometimes I don't fall asleep until 4 a.m., don't wake up till 12:30 in the afternoon, and I feel like Monday feels like Tuesday, feels like Friday, feels like Sunday, and there's no difference anymore. It's all the same. It's all a little maddening, if I'm honest. And digital connection is not new to me. Zoom and Skype and Google Hangouts, these are not functions of connection that are lost on me. In many ways, I feel like the last decade of my life has prepared me for this moment, because I've been digitally connecting with other humans since college. My first foray into legitimate friendship, deep, authentic, vulnerable connection was through an anonymous blog with readers and fellow bloggers. And there's something truly special to be living in this day and age where that's possible, where we can connect digitally. And again, I feel the seesaw, I feel the tension inside of me of this gratefulness, this genuine, beautiful gratefulness to be alive during a pandemic in which we have the internet, in which we have all these abilities to connect and stay connected. And then I also feel this overload, this sterile of all relationships becoming digital. And isn't that so nice? And isn't that so amazing? And isn't that so clean and convenient? There's like some kind of a loss of humanity in it all. To actually only be a few inches apart from somebody, or to hug somebody, or to feel someone put your hand on their shoulder. It just feels like we're all ghosts in this new world, drifting in and out of all these Zoom calls and Facebook streams, and I keep looking at the calendar wondering, is it over yet? Can we be done with this? I'm a proud introvert who certainly doesn't mind being alone, certainly needs it, whether it's working or resting. A huge way I love to rest is by traveling, getting out of my city, by going to the mountains, or by visiting friends in neighboring cities in the region, family close by. Everything just feels definitively cut off. There's nowhere to go. I live alone, and truly, these are the faces, the only faces now that I see on a regular basis. And I know it's all perspective, and this will all be over soon if we all do our part, and we'll be able to gather again and have a big celebration, and things are going to be great, maybe even better than they were before all this. We'll have a new appreciation and a new sense of gratitude for what we can do and how much we need each other. And I'm so anticipatory of those moments to come. I don't doubt that they're coming. Keeping that perspective that that day is coming is a huge one to have. But an equally, if not more so, necessary perspective to have is this one of being present and of living in today, not living in that tomorrow that we don't know. We don't know how many more tomorrows have to come before that day actually does arrive. Living presently, that has been a lifelong struggle for a kid who wrote himself into stories, dreaming of a different reality, of a different time where he was more bold, more confident, more social, more connected, more of the hero that I want myself to be. And truly the most heroic thing we can do at any time, but especially in times like these, is to be absolutely, fully, unapologetically present, to enjoy content and to rest and to be inspired by things, sure, but to make the most of our days now, just as we were called to do before all this happened, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I think that reality, that concept, is hitting home in a way that it never has before. That I'm not guaranteed to see that tomorrow when the celebrations happen and the coffee shops reopen. If that's all I'm living for, what a shallow horizon to set my eyes on. I hear birds chirping right outside my window right now as morning comes, and it's one of my biggest revelations in making all these neighborhood walks the last few weeks, is that nature is completely unaware of everything that's been happening in the world. The birds are still chirping, the squirrels are still chasing after each other, the trees are still blooming, the flowers are still budding, the sun still rises and sets. All of nature knows fully how to be present, how to live in today. All of nature is right on track, right where it needs to be, right where it's always been. So there's this call for humanity, and there's a personal call for me to follow suit, to be present. This is reality. This is here, and this is now. And what are we going to make of it? What are we going to do in this moment? Are we going to give in to fear and despondence and despair? Are we going to wake up with the birds and do what we were all made to do? Create. Create words if we're a writer. Create paintings if we're a painter. Create music if we're a musician. Create education if we're a school teacher or a parent now turned school teacher. Create business if we're a business owner. Create connection if we're a human. Create worship if we follow the divine. I've often thought about, what do I want my legacy to be at the end of all this? When I look back on the untold weeks or months, like, what do I want to see? What do I want to have as the first 3 or 4 thoughts on this time? Because I know I'm going to look back and it will have been hard. It will have been brutal, even at times. And there were plenty of times where I certainly gave in to fear and gave in to insecurity and disconnect and a host of negative things. But above all, yeah, I want my legacy to be I was present. I felt my feelings, and still I woke up, and still I went to work, and still I rested, still I connected, even though it wasn't ideal. None of this was ideal. Still I created, still I worshipped. I hope that's my legacy during this pandemic, and I hope it's all of ours. And beyond this confine of this period in time, I hope the true legacy is that nothing we gained here, nothing we lost here, stays here. That we don't go back to normal. That whatever comes next, whatever the new phase of existence is, that we took something from this hard time, from this beautiful time. We took it with us into whatever comes next, and we were never the same.